Good morning and thank you for joining us for a live talk, excuse me, with STEM ambassadors Piya and Katie from Network Rail. If you don't know, Network Rail owns, operates and develops Britain's railway infrastructure. To celebrate National Apprenticeship Week, Piya and Katie will explain about their respective journeys as Network Rail Apprentices. Please feel free to ask any questions by putting them into the chat, and our speakers will aim to ask as many as they can at the end of this talk. But first of all, I'm going to hand you to Amavir, who will give you a brief introduction to Network Rail. He is the Talent Acquisition Manager. So good morning, Amavir.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for your time today. I'm just going to give a bit of an overview of Network Rail and also the schemes that we're recruiting for this year. So as Lisa mentioned, who we are, contrary to popular belief, we don't drive any of the trains, but what we do is we operate, own and maintain all the surrounding infrastructure. So that could be all the track, bridges, tunnels, as well as some of the major stations in the UK as well. Even though our main aim is specifically as an engineering company, we pride ourselves at being a customer service focused organisation, and our aim is to make sure everything that we do and any activity we undertake, we always put passengers first. We're one of the safest railways in Europe, despite being one of the oldest, and we've delivered some of the biggest infrastructure projects in the UK. On top of that, we've got a big commitment to sustainability with the aim of being carbon neutral by 2050. Now, we are currently recruiting for a variety of apprenticeship schemes at the moment. We have just gone live for apprenticeships, the apprenticeships that I'm going to mention. So if anybody is interested in applying or would like to know more, please check out the Network Rail website. We will probably be alive for around 2 months, but once we do have enough applications for certain schemes and locations, we will close. So if anybody is interested, please get your applications in sooner rather than later. The schemes that we are recruiting for is we have a level 3 engineering apprenticeship scheme, which is focused around maintaining the infrastructure that the railway operates on. We have a level 3 finance apprenticeship scheme, which Piya's going to talk about a bit later. We have a level 3 section planning apprenticeship scheme, a level 6 digital technology and solutions apprenticeship scheme, and a level 6 chartered surveyor scheme as well. The application process is quite simple. What you have to do is generally submit an application form, and this just consists of a few basic details about yourself, your name, date of birth, which scheme you're applying for, where you live, rules, basic stuff. You'll then be invited on to do some online testing, which will involve a couple of different activities, which will sort of relate to understanding Network Rail, our values, and who you are as a person. Provided you're able to get through those two, the online test and the video scenario, you will then be invited to our assessment centre, which typically involves a couple of different activities alongside a one-to-one interview. In terms of our benefits, so our level 3 apprenticeship starting salary starts at 19,838, and our level 6 apprenticeship schemes start at 24,500. You get 28 days annual leave, and that doesn't include the public holidays, so those are on top of. On top of that, you also have 5 volunteering days. So if there's a favourite charity or a specific charity you'd like to work with, you're allowed to spend 5 days a year committing time to supporting those various charities. On top of that, you'll also get access to a whole range of different discounts and benefits, including employee assistance programs. We have a specific railway pension and discount off a variety of different products and services, such as shopping, phone contracts, gym memberships. And on top of that, as a member of as an employee of Network Rail, you will also receive discount of your own personal rail travel as well. I'm now going to hand over to Katie, who's going to talk about her apprenticeship journey so far.
Okay, so I'll just sort of start by talking about what I did at like GCSE and A levels. So I am on the level 3 finance apprenticeship at the moment. But yeah, so next slide, please. Okay, so for GCSEs, on top of my core subjects, I picked history, music, photography, and business. And then for A levels, during the first year, I did AS Maths, and in the second year, I picked up LIBF certificate and sort of did 2 equivalent to ASs. And for my full A levels, I did business studies, English literature, and psychology. I did do my A levels during COVID, so it was a bit of a different experience than I imagine it is now. But yeah, so that was just very different. But yeah, so moving on to the next slide. Okay, so my motivations for doing an apprenticeship after my A levels, I kind of knew I didn't want to go to uni. I definitely knew that I wanted to start just sort of working, start a job. But I also knew I didn't want to kind of leave it just at my A levels qualification wise. So I thought an apprenticeship was definitely the right route for me. I also knew I didn't really want to go anywhere outside of MK. I wanted to kind of stay local, stay at home, didn't really want to have to move anywhere, especially in terms of like money, avoiding student debt. That's also a big factor for me. Again, I also wanted to just kind of stuck in with work, gain sort of practical experience and knowledge, and increase my contacts just within the field that I wanted to do, which ended up being finance. But yeah, and also just it had the availability. I know that some sort of fields that aren't necessarily apprenticeships for, but considering I did want to do finance, like it was a good option for me. But yeah, so if we move on to the next slide. So I actually didn't start off with this apprenticeship with Network Rail. I started off with Milton Keynes City Council, doing the level 2 AAT. So that's just kind of the introduction to accounting, all the sort of basics. You can see under the AAT column there, that's all the kind of topics we covered. And at the end of the year, you do a synoptic assessment on an apprenticeship, which is kind of just like an exam that covers everything that you've previously done. Because during the year, you do the exam per unit. So it's nice and fresh, but obviously they do need to test that you've remembered it all. But yeah, so during that apprenticeship, I was part of sorry, could you go back? Sorry. Yeah, during that apprenticeship, I was in the adult social care finance team, where I did a lot of the budget monitoring, got lots of things to do with grants, COVID, that kind of thing. But yeah, so anyway, moving on to the level 3 apprenticeship with Network Rail. I have done 2 units so far. I'm on my second, just sort of waiting to take the exam at the end of the month, which I'm currently doing tax. And I can see some questions popping up. I'll cover them at the end. But yeah, so during Network Rail, we actually do placements, which is really nice. You get to see a lot of different like finance teams throughout the business. I've done a placement in group reporting, group tax, and I'm currently in one called technical authority, which is a bit sort of around like efficiency processes and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so you can sort of see everything that I've covered in my apprenticeship so far, and I've only been here for around a year, so you do get a really wide range of experience. But yeah, so if you move on to the next slide. Okay, so I just sort of wanted to cover, is an apprenticeship right for you? Because I know for me it was, but a lot of my friends went to uni, and you know they love it. So it's very much depends on the person. So yeah, some things to consider is, would you prefer the uni lifestyle, living away from home, that kind of stuff? Is the lack of student debt an important factor for you? If you're not too bothered, then you know it's not something to kind of have to consider. Are there any apprenticeships for the field you want to go into? So again, I know that for me, there was obviously a lot of finance apprenticeships, but you know, is there going to be ones for things? I don't know what other subjects, but yeah, some subjects might not have the apprenticeships. Is there also the level of study you want? I know my apprenticeship takes me all the way up to a level 7, so which is like the highest that you can go. But I know some fields only take you to like a level 3. Can you prioritise between work and study effectively? During A levels, I imagine people, you know, get part-time jobs. That's a good opportunity to kind of test, can you manage the workload with the study? Because there's definitely a good balance, I think, in an apprenticeship, especially at Network Rail. But yeah, it's just something to consider. Also, another thing to consider is, would you prefer to do a graduate programme similar to an apprenticeship, only you do it after, I think, earning a degree at uni? I'm not too sure. Obviously, I've done the apprentice route, so I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, there are graduate options. And also just considering when you want to enter the world of work. I definitely did want to straight after A-levels. Like, that was the main thing I wanted to do. But I know that some people, you know, would rather stay in full-time study. So it is just something to consider. But yeah, next slide. Can I have the next? Yeah, sorry, thank you. So yeah, top tips for applying, which might cover some of the questions I've seen in the chat. Definitely apply as early as you can. I know that for Network Rail, they do, I think, I'm not too sure when the applications end, but I think it's something around January. But that's for the September intake that same year. So it is, you do have to think about it quite early, potentially while you're still taking exams or still revising. Just something to look out for. I would say definitely don't count yourself out if you feel like your studies aren't relevant. Again, I didn't really do anything financy until that very last year, and even then, if I didn't have that, I don't think that really sort of played a part in getting the apprenticeship. All they're kind of looking for is that you've passed your core subjects to the minimum level, and also just, you know, show an interest, show a genuine passion for wanting to continue sort of studying the subject. You definitely, you know, if you know what you want to do, definitely pick your subjects based on that. But if you don't know, don't worry too much about if it's going to impact you getting an apprenticeship in whatever field in the future. But yeah, and always ask questions. Like Network Rail especially definitely looks for people who want to know about Network Rail, want to see what it's all about, who are passionate about it. But yeah, though, that's pretty much everything I've got to say about apprenticeships. I don't know when we're answering questions, but I'll just pass it on from now. So yeah.
Okay, so good morning everyone. My name is Piya Patel and I'm 18 years old, and I recently joined Network Rail on their apprenticeship programme back in September. And similarly, I'm just going to share a little bit about my journey and how I got here. So next slide, please. So when it was time for me to choose my GCSEs, I honestly had no clue as to what I wanted to do in the future. So my biggest advice if you're in a similar situation is to choose subjects that you enjoy and have a vested interest in. For me personally, that was geography, history, media studies and drama, on top of the compulsory maths, English and science. I ended up doing quite well in my GCSEs, but at this point I still wasn't sure as to what career path I wanted to take. So I decided to stay within my school for a further 2 years studying information technology, business and media studies and politics. And other than media, I hadn't studied any of these subjects before, but since I was unsure about my career path, I felt these subjects I would enjoy the most, whilst also providing me with relevant skills that I could apply hopefully in the future. So whilst it's also important to choose subjects that will facilitate your career path, it's also important to choose subjects you feel you enjoy and benefit from. Otherwise, without that desire to learn, it can be difficult to muster the motivation to study for these subjects. So next slide, please. So why did I choose the apprenticeship route? So during my time of study, I noticed different teaching and learning styles, and it made me realise that I wasn't very suited to the traditional sit in a lecture hall approach. And while studying, I always relied on practical examples to help consolidate my learning, and that really veered me towards an apprenticeship over university. And as I mentioned previously, at the time of applying, I was very indecisive, and to be honest, I still am as to what I want to do. It can be quite difficult being so young and be expected to know where you want to go in life without that much experience as to what it will be like once you get there. And I think that's exactly what is so great about apprenticeships, as it gives you a flavour as to what it's like in real life. And based on these experiences, you can begin to find your likes and dislikes and understand where your interests lie. Already from my apprenticeship, I've had the chance to rotate within teams, and I've been exposed to different areas within the organisation, which has really helped me understand my own strengths and weaknesses. Another really big reason why I chose to opt for the apprenticeship route is the financial benefits. Being financially independent is something that's quite important to me, and earning a competitive salary whilst also having my degree paid for is something that attracted me to the degree apprenticeship route. My experience so far has really also made me realise the extensive training opportunities that are available to me as an apprentice. Network Rail really realises the importance of self-development and gaining new skill sets. Being an apprentice, not only do you receive supported training, but you get a very tailored support system with line managers, assignment managers, mentors to guide you through your studies, and also within the industry, which for me has been invaluable. And being an apprentice, you also have the opportunity for growth on so many different levels. You begin to learn a bit more about yourself as a person, as a student, and also as a professional, which I think to do so at such an early age is a huge advantage. So next slide, please. Thank you. Oh, yeah. So there are many different types of apprenticeships available, starting from level 2 intermediate apprenticeships, which are usually 12 to 18 months. There's level 3 advanced apprenticeships, which are usually between 18 to 48 months and equivalent to 2 A-levels. Level 4 higher apprenticeships are around 24 months and they're equivalent to higher national certificates, or essentially the first year of an undergraduate degree. Level 5 higher apprenticeships are equivalent to a foundation level degree or higher national diploma. Level 6 degree apprenticeships usually take around 3 to 4 years to complete, and level 7 degree apprenticeships are equivalent to a master's degree level, which is the highest level degree apprenticeship, and it can take around 5 to 6 years to complete. So next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my apprenticeship itself. Next slide. So I'm doing the level 6 degree in Technology Solutions apprenticeship at Network Rail as a business and IT service apprentice. So I'm given the opportunity to work within the digital factory within Network Rail that implements and innovates technologies and applications. Within this, I can move into information security, IT operations, telecoms and project management and many more. And through this apprenticeship, I'm given the opportunity to learn what it means to be a network engineer, a project manager, a business analyst or an information security analyst. So there's a lot of flexibility and opportunities available within this apprenticeship scheme. Next slide, please. So as I'll be earning as I learn, this degree apprenticeship is with Cranfield University or NKU, who provide all the academic support. And this university specialises in level 4 to 6 apprenticeships. And overall, I've had a really great experience with the university. I think the fact that they specialise means that they have a really good understanding of what apprenticeships entail, and they can provide support around that, which has been really great. So next slide. So a bit about my actual role. I initially started in security operations, and now I'm currently in information security, focusing on governance, risk and compliance. And part of my job requires me to conduct on-site security inspections, look into risk management, prepare for security audits, review policies and guidance documents, and develop security training tools. And so far, I've really been enjoying learning a bit more about the security space, and the team I'm working with are incredibly supportive. So next slide, please. Sorry, is the slide showing?
Should be.
I might just be a delay on mine. So just to touch on the main benefits, I think the being an apprenticeship allows is an industry recognised qualification, which you can take wherever you go. One-to-one mentorship with professionals within the field who can share their insights and provide great advice. And since joining Network Rail as an apprentice, I've had so many opportunities to network. I also have designated study time to fit in within my uni assignments. I'm also provided with hands-on learning experiences, which means I can get involved easily in different projects. And being able to rotate also really widens your skill set as you develop new skills within each team. You also have the opportunity to be trained on so many different things. It's also about what sparks your interest, and training can be tailored from that. You're also able to enhance your employability skills, and you're given opportunities like this one to speak in front of people and grow your overall confidence. So next slide, please. So although I've gone through some of the advantages of an apprenticeship, I thought I'd also mention some of the challenges that I faced along the way. So I do want to say that being an apprentice isn't always easy. You are jumping from being a full-time student to working a full-time job whilst also staying on top of that study element. It's crucial that you have time management and organisation skills. It's quite easy to get burnt out, so it's important to look after yourself and your own well-being at the same time. Adjusting to a work environment can also be quite difficult. It's a big change, and there are certain skills that you'll be expected to develop along the way. Being an apprentice, it's also quite likely that you'll be the youngest and experiencing an age gap with professionals in the field. However, there are many programs such as Association of Apprentices and internal opportunities to meet other apprentices and network with people your own age. Another thing is being delegated different responsibilities and managing a workload, which can be quite difficult at first, but I think it does begin to get a bit more easy once you learn what strategies work for you. And lastly, getting that work-life balance. It can be exhausting working as an apprentice, the time taken to commute to work and the time required to study. It can be quite mentally challenging at times, but also getting into good routines and allocating time for yourself can make the biggest difference. So next slide, please. So I've spoken a little bit about my apprenticeship in particular, but there are many different apprenticeships out there and in so many different fields such as tech, business, finance, construction, engineering, law, and so many more. So I really would recommend looking online, looking at the gov.uk website, and just see all the different types of apprenticeships that are out there, and you may not even realise they even exist. So if anyone has any questions about my apprenticeship journey, the application process, or just general advice, please feel free to ask, and thank you for listening.
Thank you both. Oh, that was absolutely amazing and really informative and interesting, and really nice to hear it firsthand from apprentices. I'm sure many young people will relate to you, and thank you for your great advice. We've got some good questions coming as well, so I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Sophie to put those to you.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning, Katie and Piya and Emma. Okay, so our first question is, what qualifications do I need to apply for an L3 apprentice?
Okay, I'll take that one. So you very much just kind of need your basic kind of GCSEs, maths and English. You know, and I think there is a minimum requirement of the GCSEs you need to have passed as well. I think it's 5 off the top of my head. I'm not too sure about the A-level side of it though, if anything's needed there.
Okay, so it's a bit like what you would need to go on to do your A-levels then, quite similar.
Yes, yeah, basically.
Okay, what are the best subjects to study to get onto an apprenticeship at Network Rail?
I think for my one at least, oh sorry, I think
no, go on after you, Piya.
The only requirement was one STEM subject, but it is dependent on the apprenticeship that you're applying for. Obviously, if you're applying to finance, I assume that maths would be quite useful, things like that, but it's so dependent on which one you're applying for.
Okay, did you want to add something to that?
Do you know what? I was just literally same point as Piya. They all just vary a little bit, just depending on which apprenticeship schemes you're applying for.
Okay, and I've got a question. Will work experience help my application?
For me, I would say it definitely helped. I don't think you need it to stand out. I think it is just about standing out. You can sort of, you know, you can talk about other things that you've done. It doesn't necessarily have to be work experience, but yeah, for me, that was definitely something that I think helped me sort of sell myself to the apprenticeship. But yeah.
Okay. I've got a question here. Are there many female apprentices at Network Rail?
But in my cohort, at least, there's 3, and we have a cohort of 8, so it is quite male dominated, but I think in some of the other apprenticeships there are more females.
Yeah, no, I'd say that on mine, I'm the current only girl, but there's only 6 of us in my little area, and there are wider finance apprentices around the different regions that are girls as well. It's just in my office, I'm the only girl at the moment, but we're always encouraging as many girls as possible to apply. So.
Okay, so you need some more girls to apply to join you in your office, definitely. Okay, do I get to stay on after my apprenticeship?
I can take that one. At least for my apprenticeship, I don't know how it is for other apprenticeships. I assume it's similar. But for my apprenticeship, once you finish the study, it's very much just stay on the rolling apprenticeship until you find a job. So they encourage you to apply for the full-time positions that you're now qualified for. And if you don't get something straight away, they will keep you on the scheme until you find something. So
yeah, mine's the same.
Okay, so that's good to know. And this kind of leads on quite nicely. What else can I do with my apprenticeship? At Network Rail?
I don't mind
guess-
fielding this one.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
no, it's fine. You can go.
so I think once your apprenticeship finishes and completes, obviously that gives you a entry into a career path, whether that be finance, IT, engineering, etc. But given the size and scope of Network Rail, I think the one thing you'll realise when you join is how much Network Rail do, and often you'll find a lot of people will change industries, change jobs, or within NR itself. So yeah, there's a lot of scope to see and change as you grow and develop.
Okay, brilliant. And are there any opportunities for travel?
At least in my apprenticeship, there definitely is. You can go around all the different offices. They also do like to do an induction sort of tour around the country at different stations, different offices, which is nice. But yeah, no, there's definitely opportunities for travel.
Yeah, I'd say the same.
Okay. Will I work with other apprentices?
I'd say that's dependent on the projects that you've been put in. I know that 2 of my apprentices are working on the same project at the minute, and I'm doing a project with another apprentice in a different role. So it's all about what projects are going on at the moment and whether there's any crossovers where you may need their help.
There is also a lot of like networking opportunities as well, and I'm currently the apprentice rep for the finance scheme, which means I get to organise a lot of the like volunteer days, networking stuff. So there's that side of it as well, which is quite good.
Okay. I've got a question. This might be more for Amavia. What can I do with a level 3 apprenticeship?
After you finish, or
when you finished, yeah, when you've done your level 3, where would that take you?
So first of all, we would encourage to support you to gain a role within the business. Generally, with each apprenticeship scheme, there's a couple of different roles in mind that apprentices will roll off onto, and then from there, really, not only will you have recognised qualifications and experiences you can take externally should you wish to leave Network Rail or the rail industry, but also but sort of internally at Network Rail, it's your first step on career ladder to go as far and as wide as you wish.
Okay, so this is a question to Piya and Katie. Do you think you have missed out on the university experience?
Personally, I don't feel like I've missed out too much, just because I think that uni definitely wasn't for me. But I do think if you are someone who's kind of worried about that, it is like good to know that we've got like networking opportunities. Like the apprentices, we're very much like a unit. We will like go out for drinks with each other. You know, there's a lot of networking, social stuff as well. Obviously, it's not quite the same as like the whole uni experience, living away from home, that kind of stuff. But there's definitely an aspect that it makes me feel like I don't miss out. But yeah.
Okay. So I think we've got time for 1 or 2 more questions. So if anybody's got any burning questions that they want to ask, now is the time to put them in the chat. Okay. The next question, or the final question I've got here, is what different areas of apprenticeships are there at Network Rail? What are the different areas, the different apprenticeships that you can do?
So the ones we're recruiting for at the moment are engineering, finance, section planning, digital technology solutions, and a chartered surveyor apprenticeship. Year on year, sometimes these can change depending on business needs. So sometimes we can have some different ones.
Okay, and is that do you do level 3 for all of those as well, or is it only?
It's a real mixture. Sometimes last year we had a couple of level 4s and level 5s. This year it's mainly level 3s and level 6s that we've got available.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so thank you ever so much for answering all our questions, and thank you everyone at home who's put questions in the chat and for listening today. I'm just going to pass you over to my friend Lisa, who will finish off.
Thank you, Sophie, and thank you to you all for your amazing presentations and great answers there. and we are sure that our audience has been inspired by your amazing career stories today, and we all wish you continued success with your apprenticeships. Just to let our audience know that live talks have been taking place all this week to celebrate National Apprenticeship Week. So take a look at our website if you missed any of them. They're all very interesting and informative. So thank you for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of National Apprenticeship Week, which I believe ends on Sunday. So thanks again for joining us. Thank you to Network Rail. Goodbye.